Hello and welcome to another session of Mindful Data Mine. In today's session, we will be covering functions in SAS. So, as I mentioned earlier, in SAS there are only two data types, character and numeric. So, our functions are basically divided into two types, character functions and numeric functions. Since date is of numeric type, so we are considering date as a part of numeric functions. So this session will be divided into two parts. First is the character functions, and in the next session we will be learning about numeric functions, and we will also cover put and input from character functions. Okay, so for this, what I'll do is I'll first create a new data set, data A, and this time I'll use SAS help dot baseball dataset. Okay, now in this SAS help.baseball dataset, we have few character variable and some numeric variable. That's why I'll just segregate them with baseball underscore char and baseball underscore numeric. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to consume the one which are of character type first, and maybe in the next session if required we will use baseball underscore numeric dataset. So what I'll do, I'll simply use keep dataset option and I'll mark as numeric underscore numeric for numeric one, and for character I'll use underscore character underscore. Okay, now I'll just simply run it. So I should get two data set, one which contains all the character variables named as baseball underscore char, and the other one is which will contain all the numeric variables named as baseball underscore numeric. Okay, so in this baseball underscore char we have six columns. Okay, we have name, team, league, division, position, and div. Okay, now let's assume that we have a requirement where we need to take out the first character from division. Okay, now in all such cases, what we can do is we can use a function known as substring in SAS. Okay, how we would write it? What I'll do is I'll simply use the dataset baseball underscore char, and maybe I'll say short div or division because we have another name column name as div. So short division, and we can write it as substr. This is the function name, and in this we need to first pass the variable name, that is division, followed by the position from where we want to pick the data, or from where we want to start selecting this data, and till what position we need to extract the data. Okay, so since we need it for only one position, so I'll write it 1 comma 1. In case I need the first three characters, then I'll write 1 comma 3. So the first argument of substring is the variable name, character variable name. Second argument is the position from where it needs to start the substring. And the third position is how many characters it needs to pick from the starting position or from this position. Okay, now I have added this based on my requirement. Now if I run this, I should be able to see another column named as short division, in which I will get the first character. E for East, W for West. Okay, now assume that we have a requirement that we need to segregate the name into first and last name, assuming that this portion highlighted is the last name and this is the first name. What we can do is we can simply use a function known as scan in SAS. So what it usually does is it scans the variable based on the delimiter passed. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll quickly create the first name, and here I'll need to use scan function scan. Then we need to pass the variable name, which is name. After passing the variable name, next thing it requires is the position. So when we say position here, what I really meant to say is if we consider this as a name, so and it is separated by this comma. So this becomes my first position, this part becomes my second position, and this becomes my third position. Okay, so in case if we have n number of delimiters, then we would get n plus 1 chunks. Like this part is known as chunk as well. So we'll get n plus 1. For example, here we have 2 comma and we are getting 3 chunks. Okay, so the next part it requires is the position which we want to pick. Okay, so for first name, I'm assuming that it's on the last position. So for last position, I can use -1 so that it can pick the last position. Or if it's the second last, I can also use -2 for that. And the third argument it accept is the delimiter which we need to pass or by which the function should scan. Similarly, for last name, I can use scan again, but this time it's not my last position, it's my first position. So I'll write it like this. Okay, now when I run this, I should get the name segregated. So if you see first name, it's Andy and last name is Ilson. Similarly for all the others. Okay, now let's assume that we have a requirement that we do not need these commas in between the name. Okay, for this we have a function known as compress which can actually remove or compress the data which we pass into it. By data here I mean to say whatever we want to compress we can compress that directly. So for this what I'll do is I'll quickly write my data step first and the column name as maybe comp for compress, comp underscore name, and I'll use the function compress here in which I'll need to pass the first argument as name, then whatever I want to compress. So for example, here I want to compress this comma, so I've passed it. By default, it will compress the space. Now I'll write run, and when I'll run it, so I should get another column named as comp underscore name in which I'll not get any comma. Okay, now similar to this, in case if we have a requirement that we have a name, we have this position, but here I just want to see the characters. For example, if it is 1B, I should see B. If it is 2B, I should see B. Then again, we can use compress function to do that. what I need to simply do is, let's say now instead of name, I'll give it as composition, compos maybe. Okay, now I'll keep this as blank because I need not to work with my comma. Okay, and instead of name, it's position. So I'll change this to position. Okay, and here I'll use an argument d. So basically d means digits. So in case if we want to remove digits, that is 0 to 9, we can use this argument as digits. So when I'll run this, I should get another column compos in which we should not get the numeric items. See, it has been removed. And similarly, in case if we want to remove the the character part, we can do that. And for that, we can use KD. That means to keep digit. Now this time, the character part will be removed in pos underscore ch and numeric part will be retained. See, we are getting the numeric part. Okay, moving further, then we have another function as index and find. So basically index and find, they both are used to get the location of a particular character or a substring within a string. The only difference between the two is find also takes some modifiers, whereas index index function does not take that. Let's see how it works. What I'll do is I'll just copy some code from the above dataset data step, and maybe for index I'll use I equals to index. This is the syntax, and here I'll pass maybe name and I'll search for comma. Okay, and for find I'll use f find. Again I'll pass name here. With name I'll maybe pass comma a. So instead of just finding comma, I am finding comma with a. So wherever this find will get comma space a, it will give me the position of that particular character or substring. And in the end, I'm using a modifier known as I. Basically, I is to ignore the case, to remove the case sensitivity, uppercase, lowercase, like this. Now, what I'll do is I'll just simply write run here. Now let's try and run this. If you see I, what I'll do is I'll quickly remove team, league, division, position, diff because this is not required right now. So if you see for index we are getting 999. Okay, so it's telling us okay where this comma lies, and we have comma space a available in Andy. That's why we are getting ninth position. The first character is comma, so it's taking that position. Okay, now here it's bill in the end, that's why we are getting 0. That's the difference between two. An index, we cannot pass anything. Okay, so if I try to use it like this, it will also say so. Search a character expression of string for a string of characters and return the position of the string first character. Okay, and if you try to put this on find, searches for the substring of character with the character string. But the basic difference between the two is with index we cannot we do not have any modifiers, but in case of find, we do have modifiers. Okay. Now, apart from this, in case if we have a requirement, for instance, let's assume that I'll try to use the data which we already have. Okay. Now, let's say in the league, we need to replace the name. Like if we are getting NAT, in case of this national, if we are getting NAT, it should be replaced by ABC. Okay. Then how we can do that if we want to replace a particular substring from a string in character variable? So to do that, we have two functions available in SAS. One is translate and the other one is transword. Okay, we'll see now how we can use both of them and what's the difference between the two. Now, first I'll write the syntax and then I'll explain you. Let's say for legal it's LG underscore T underscore late for translate function I'm using here. So I've just entered the translate function. Now for league in the translate function, first we need to write the variable name followed by the name to which we want to convert, sorry, to string which we want to convert and from string. So I want to convert or replace NAT with ABC. So first we need to write here the to string and here we need to pass the from string in case of translate. And for transword it would be written like TRANWRD. This is the exact name of the function. Then we need to pass league here, and in this case it's opposite. First we need to pass from, that is nat, to, maybe this time I'll take XYZ. Okay, so this is the syntax. For translates is it's the variable name, character variable name, then we have to, then from, and in case of transword it's the variable name, then we have from, and in the end we have to. Okay, now let's try to run this and see the difference between two. Now I'll just remove all the other items and I'll keep this. So if you see in American we have this A, and in case of translate it is getting translated to B. It's because when we use translate it reads or changes character by character. So N will be replaced by A will be replaced by B, and T will be replaced by C. Okay, that's how it is working. So in American, we are getting A, it is being replaced by B. Okay, and in national, we have 2A, so these both are getting replaced by B, and NAT is getting replaced by ABC. But in case of transword, if you see, it works on substring level. So it will look for the particular substring, and if it finds that, then only it will replace. That's why if you see American, it's not replacing anything, but in case of national, it's replacing NAT with XYZ. Okay, so that's the difference between two. Translate works on characters, whereas transword works on substring. Okay, apart from this, we have already covered this particular function, so I won't take much time on this function. The function name is lowercase and uppercase. So lowercase if I want to lower the case of my name, so I can use lowercase, and if I want to change it to upper, then I can use uppercase. This will change my name's case from upper to lower or lower to upper. See, in case of lowercase, everything is in lower characters, and here it's everything upper. Everything is in uppercase. Okay. Then we have concatenation function. So in SAS we have four different kind of concatenation function. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll simply use it maybe with some function to explain you in a better way. So what I'll do is I'll use this first name and last name. Okay. Maybe I'll simply use this table B. Now here, let's assume that we have a requirement that we want to concatenate the first name and last name. That means we want to join both of them together. Okay. So in SAS, we have four different functions available. So first function is cat itself. Maybe I'll say nm for name, and here I'll use cat first underscore name comma last underscore name. This will concatenate my both the columns into this particular variable c underscore name. Now again we have another version of concatenate, that is cat x. When we use cat x, so in case if we want to pass any particular delimiter in between the concatenated or joined variables, then we can use cat x for that. So by using cat x, we will get answers something like first name comma last name. Okay, maybe I'll use cx for this. Apart from this, there is one more version, that is cat t. So cat t accepts the variable name itself, but what it does, it just trims the variable with the trailing characters. So in case if you have a name something like, I'll give you an example maybe here. Okay, it's something like ABC, and these are like spaces. So trim will remove these spaces. And in case if you have spaces leading and trailing like this, then strip mainly remove leading as well as trailing spaces. Okay, so we have cat t and then we have cat s function as well. So cat t basically trims, and cat s removes both leading as well as trailing spaces. That is, it works as a strip function. Okay, now I'll just run this and we can then see the results. We are getting some error. Let's check the log why we are getting it, because I forgot to add the comma here. Let's add the comma and rerun this. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll remove these items from the name itself and then we will see. Okay, so I'll hide the column so that we can see the details. Okay, so if you see, we are getting first name as Andy, last name as Ellison, and if when we used cat directly, we are getting Andy, then spaces Ellison. Okay, when we used catx, we are getting Andy comma Ellison, because in X we have used a modifier comma, that's why we are getting it like this. In case of cat T, that is trim. After ND, all the spaces which we are getting here is trimmed and we are getting Elson. And similarly in cat S, we are getting ND Elson after removing the trailing spaces or any leading space itself. So it has joined everything after removing leading and trailing spaces. So that's all for this session. Please let me know in comments if you have any questions or any queries or any confusion related to any of the functions. These are some of the basic functions and there are a lot of functions available in SAS. You can have a look at SAS documentation to get the specific detail of all the functions. And do let me know in comment section if you have any queries or concerns related to this session. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.